Good morning. Thanks for having us. So I'm Craig Donzie with the Walbec Group. It's a family-owned business of 6 companies today. That Northeast Asphalt is one of those companies. Again, founded in 1930. Vertically integrated, essentially heavy civil construction company. Turnkey engineering and construction services. So for a project like this, every bit of the design, planning, and construction will be executed by team members within several companies under that umbrella. 1,800 skilled people on the full-time payroll, plus a myriad of union staff that work in the field to support projects that you see going on around the highways and especially here. Yeah, let's go back to. So yeah. So I'm the engineering manager. I'm a licensed engineer and land surveyor here in Wisconsin and Michigan. And our group will tell you about some of the work we've done out here, really the planning end of things, the land surveying, making sure we put this track right back where we found it before Heather's crew walks in here. And Heather's one of our project managers on the asphalt paving side with Northeast Asphalt. It's been working out here 7 years, kind of year after year with some paving. As you've seen this place really change over the last 5. Everything that's black, Heather's been really involved with, and a lot of the planning efforts to date too. So she's going to share with you kind of a little bit about the history. We were able to dig through a lot of the corporate archives and pick up some really neat photographs, kind of pick up on where we're left with kind of the track over time, and then we'll talk about some of the technical aspects of the planning and the physical track, and then Heather will finish up for you with kind of what the game plan is here to repave the place in October.
All right, I'll try not to bore anybody here, but there's a lot of cool information coming forward. So this is a picture of the first pavement that we redid in '95. So this is actually the 55 pavement picture. So Road America, like most of you know, was founded in 1954. Construction for the track started in March of 1955 at surveying and staking. It was paved in July for the first race to happen in September. So that was a pretty intense year as far as construction-wise, especially in that time with the technologies that were available there. They added 1 inch of asphalt in 1974, and that pavement stayed until 1994-95. So we came in 95, 94. We pulverized with 6 inches of base. That increased the structural support. We put 2 3/4 inches of asphalt on it. That asphalt at the time, the technologies was a 55% steel slag inside the asphalt. So it increased the load carrying capacity and started battle.
I did? Well, I don't know.
Oh.
Thank you.
So, and that was the first use of a polymer modified asphalt out here, which reduces cracking. And the mix was different than anything that was ever placed in Wisconsin. So it was specially designed for the track itself. In 1999, the Motorplex was paved for the first time. We used asphalt additive in that, which is also another polymer type based asphalt additive to improve rutting, shoving, and also reduce cracking. So we did some race line patching at that time too, which was 1.5 inches. So this is pictures of the race line being redone in '99. In 2005, there was 1.5 inch rehab of corners 3, 5, 6, and 8. So again, we used the polymer modified asphalt, and we used a state E1 super pave. So if anybody in here knows asphalt, that's fun. So it was basically state spec. In 2011, there was 1.5 inch overlay of Midway. In 2015, we redid corners 5, 6, 8, and 14. Again, we used the E1, which is a 9.5 millimeter, but this time we went with 9.5 millimeters. We did a polymer modified asphalt that was a 90-22 at that time. And we did special consideration and special blends for the mix for out here. So just kind of showing you guys how much work has been done out here in the last handful of years. 2016 was the start of their big changes out here. Gate 1, fan walk, retail building, the golf cart trail that comes up behind and goes back to the motorplex, and the winter circle were all done in 16. 2017, the go-kart track was paved and reconstructed, and so was Midway. So the Walbec group did some design here. We did changes, so we basically got rid of the oval. Kind of made it blend with the rest of the go-kart track at the time. There was a lot of regrading in that. We pulverized the existing base again, so the top left corner is the pulverizer going around. The top right is some of the grading efforts to change some of the profiles out there to make it ride a little better. And then the bottom right is our paving crew out there. So if we have time in the end and anybody's bored, we got a time-lapse video for some of that too. So 2018 was more work for the fans. So we did the main gate, gate 3, VIP lot was paved, and so was the media lot. 2019, they did gates 5 and 6. 2020, gate 4, SJB concessions, and the hospitality area at turn 5. So in 2020 is when discussions started actually happening for repaving this track. 2021, the motorplex was paved with the new building. Paddock parking in the upper was done, as well as Fireman's Lane, which if you get to see that in fall, it's beautiful. And we cored the track in 2021 to get depth. So this is one of the pavement cores of the track, of what's existing out there. These are the size and the type of cores that Road America is selling. So this year so far, we've done Turn 9 Bridge, the firemen's restrooms, and we completed 2 culvert pipes last week as part of the reconstruct for the main track. And the track and pit lane will be done this fall. So Craig's going to go through some of the prep work here and design.
Thanks, Heather. So we came out and did a lot of really high-end survey work out here that we're extremely proud of. The track's geometry is important to you. It's important to the racing teams. It's important to the history of the place. And so we really wanted to make sure that we identified and documented that uniqueness. There's geometric control points that are out there to maintain that track character. The topographic survey we completed in 2011 established 25 survey control points. So there's actually 18-inch long rebar driven into the ground, 6 inches deep, 6 inches below the grass, so that they aren't sticking up and catching a car that's not on the track. Those were put in with 3/100ths of a foot accuracy, which is a 32nd of an inch. So we know exactly where those are all the way around this track. You can see from one to the next to the next to the next, all the way around the 4 miles. The topographic survey that we've that followed upon that control consisted of a little over 7,000 points. That's on the track. Nothing to do with the grass, a little bit of drainage survey work for the culvert replacements that happened, but a lot of points. We had a pretty good number of staff out here working collaboratively, trying to fit in during windows when the track wasn't used. This place is used a lot, which is awesome. A big reason why the improvements that are here to date are, and a big reason why the track's able to get repaved here in a month. We also completed a drone survey for planning purposes. That drone survey has really proved invaluable. We've been able to back up a lot of our field work with that, find timing loops, check markings, really do a lot of planning efforts because of that drone flight. So technology's changed a lot since 1955 when Ward was out here as an 18-year-old man creating what we have today with Cliff. From a geometric perspective, the track is 21,373 feet long. That's measured along the center of the track. It's different from left to right. That's the distance. Generally 30 feet of asphalt out here, tell you it wiggles a little bit, but it's generally 30 feet. It'll go back at 30 feet. That front stretch is 4,400 feet long. And to me, the most impressive statistic out here is there's 205 feet of elevation change. That's unbelievable. You're going to see it today. Like Ward said, you're going to climb some of those hills. They're impressive. I mean, they really are. They made surveying it challenging, just from an elevation perspective. So when we ran digital level loops around the place to have that kind of accuracy, it was a lot of work. A lot of those distances where we could see when you're level as you're climbing up some of those big hills is, it's under 100 feet before you're over 10 feet in the air. That's an impressive statistic. I don't know any other track in the world that's got that kind of elevation change. So from a curve perspective, the shortest curve, 62 feet at the exit of 5. And then 455 feet at the apex of the carousel. Those are tight curves. Those are really tight curves. Highway curves are thousands of feet long. Thousands. As you come in, if you came in 23, if you came in 67, a tight curve on a highway approaching this place is a couple thousand feet. And you're going 65 miles an hour. So you're going 455 feet, and I don't know how fast you're going around that carousel, moving. It's impressive. Again, related to that elevation change, maximum grades out here, 12%. As you come through that walkover bridge on the front stretch at the grandstand. That's steep. Highway curves we try to keep roads 55 and over at 6% or less. That's double that. And they're going 3 times as fast, 2 times as fast. The geometry here is impressive. Want me to talk about this?
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So as part of the asphalt that'll go out here, it's coming from all over the place. It's coming from Wisconsin, except for the liquid AC that comes in from a refinery. It comes into our Milwaukee tank farm. It's blended there. It's polymerized, what we call polymerizing it. We'll talk a little bit about what that means later, but it's really fancy asphalt, and it needs to be to hold up to the heat, the friction, the pulling that occurs with the track when the cars are on it, and it needs to survive our winter. So it's really fancy asphalt. Aggregate sources are coming from several places kind of throughout the state in order to meet the strength requirements that are here for longevity. And then the actual asphalt material itself be produced here at our Larson plant down the road. What's the haul distance to Larson? Half hour?
No, it's
Closer than that?
67 miles.
Round trip?
One way.
One way, that's a long way.
So Larson plant is just outside between Appleton and Oshkosh. So the lower layer is going to come out of Agricon, which is over here in Kiel, but the surface, we have to have specialty stuff at our plant for producing this type of mix. So that's going to come out of Larson.
So our Northeast Asphalt's been, testing materials for the last year and a half, manufacturing them, crushing them, stockpiling them, moving them to those plants to get ready for October. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes just to get that mix ready to go to put on the ground here. And it's something they do every day. It is a fancy mix. It's going to perform here extremely well, but it's something Northeast Asphalt does every day, and they're just exceptional at it. Again, we talked a little bit about the coring, so you can see some variation in the thickness, right? This was those 3-inch cores. That's probably 2.5 inches thick or so. These are really sharp, the way they've mounted these and selling them just short of $100. They're cool. And they just ordered a bunch more cores to be able to, because the demand's been pretty good. Now you can see we've got some spots that are really thin. We think those were likely repairs. You're seeing some fracturing in the existing asphalt, some cracks that are out there. What's under the track? So as Ward said, this is a unique landform, right? We're in the Kettle Moraine area. This is a glacial landform. The soils here are predominantly glacial till, is what we would consider those. Extremely high silt content. So silt is a material that you can feel on your teeth, but it's slippery in your hands when it's wet. So it's finer than sand and coarser than dust. Extremely moisture sensitive. So we went and performed some additional pavement cores this year once we kind of had what the improvements were dialed in and we were getting ready for culvert replacements. We came back and cored some 6-inch holes in the track, so quite a bit bigger. Again, we weren't necessarily looking at how thick the asphalt was. We already knew that. We wanted to get below it. And the reason we did a 6-inch core is because you can actually take a spade or a post hole digger and a shovel, what we'd call a sharpshooter, and you can get the gravels out of that hole. You can't get gravel out of a hole this size. So we needed some bigger holes. What came out of that was we were able to determine what's below the track, what supports it, what are we going to be dealing with during construction. It's October. Our drying days are to a minimum in October, kind of what's below it. So what we found was the material that Ward and I had the chance to talk about this morning. It's a pit run gravel material, again, with some high silt content. Pretty bony material. There's some what we call potatoes in here, non-technical, but some potatoes, literally rocks the size of potatoes. And there's a pretty low fracture count on the rocks. So we'll put these on the table if you want to see them. Again, try not to open the bags because they make a mess, but I've got some bags of those. Above that is the pulverized 1990 or pulverized original track. So it had slag added to it, and that's what's right immediately below the 95 paving product is a pulverized asphalt material. So you got asphalt sitting on a pulverized original track surface of about 1.5 inches, sitting on a native material that was brought in, as you heard, by rail car to fill over the existing natural landform, which is a glacial gravel pit. The pulverized, again, created in 95. We didn't find any evidence of high groundwater, which is important to us. Again, we're trying to figure out what is it going to look like in October. What are the crews walking into? What do we need to plan for? How do we meet this tight time frame of getting in and out of here before we've got winter on our hands and get the track ready for you for next year? We did some DCP testing, which is, again, just kind of technical strength testing. What we found is the material, as you see, when it's dry, it's incredibly strong. And that's part of the reason the track's done so well from a survivability perspective. Going through those freeze thaws, having the loads on them, the material when dry is phenomenal. So surveying during construction. Again, it's really all about how do we put this thing back where we found it. It's unique. It's got a lot of character. We spent a lot of time talking about the character with the staff here and what makes this place unique and how do we make sure it stays unique. We're going to put it right back where we found it. And that's why we did a lot of that survey work. We're going to be able to set grade to support the crews. The crews are going to be running motor graders using robotic technology, supplemented with traditional construction staking, so wood hubs with little whiskers that the operators will drive through and grade that material, regrade the base material to put it right back at the thickness and elevation that we found it. Maintaining where the edges of pavement are today, that the edges of pavement are going to be tomorrow. Matching all the driveways, the rumble strips, the access points, it all gets matched. Cross slopes, super elevation, transitions, crown lines. The goal here is to put it right back where we found it, including a parabolic crown on the front stretch. That's unique. It's not a rigid cross slope. There's a parabolic crown there. How about the plans for October?
So now we're getting to the fun part, right? The future. So for our lower layer out there, we're going to do 2.5 inches. It's a 3MT 58-28V, which is the type of oil. So it's a heavy traffic, heavy, very firm oil. So this is basically what you see on your highway on your lower layer, except for the oil is beefed up. So that's going to give us a decent part of our structure. The upper is a very special mix. We've worked with some engineers from NASCAR's pavement designs, and we have a mix that's going to be very similar to other road courses out here, but still a lot of design. Like you saw before, we had to look a lot of different places to get aggregates with the properties that we want that also are going to match what the industry standard is for a track. So last week we started with pipe work. When you go around, you're going to see 2 patches between 3 and 5. That's the 2 pipes that we installed last week. We're going to do 5 pipes overall. So we're going to mill 4 inches of existing asphalt off of the track. So I will show you a picture a little later, but we're taking 17,195 tons, give or take, off the track. That is equivalent to 860 dump trucks that we have to haul out of here. And I don't have to tell you guys what kind of coordination is going to happen, because as you see how many places there are to get on and off the track, it's going to be fun. So once we're done milling, we're going to go into survey. After surveying everything, we're going to do grading. We're going to use some newer technologies, but like we said, we want to put it exactly like it was. So we're going to go and we are going to pound hubs at least every 50 feet all the way around this track to make sure it goes exactly back the way we're taking it out. You know, minus the bump on the backside right by the bridge. We'll take that out. So paving. We're going to pave an echelon, which is side by side. Like I said, the surface is going to be 1.5 inches. It's 9.5 millimeters. We call it a virgin mix. There's no recycled in it. Everything is brand new. The asphalt is a polymer modified, and it's in excess of 82 minus 28. That is some serious asphalt. When we come out here, you might see our guys wearing some different safety equipment just because of the properties in that liquid that we need to use. So we're putting 10,945 tons, give or take, on the lower layer, which is 486 dump trucks worth. And then our upper layer is 6,450 tons, so that's 287 dump trucks. So paving an echelon means that the 2 pavers go side by side, so you're not going to have a center lane joint. We're going to have 4 or more rollers rolling back behind them. Everything is going to be extremely tested with densities, and yeah, it's going to be quite the operation. So when I told you guys we're taking 17,000 tons off, that milling pile right there is only 7,000 tons. You see that dump truck on the other side of it? So there's a lot of material coming off. Road America has opted to keep this material. They're going to use this to do more access roads, more parking lots, more base work. So this will all get recycled back in on the facility. So if you think about it, we're taking 17,000 tons off, we're putting back 17,000 tons. So we're doing 5 times this pile's worth of material moving back and forth. And this is also how much we've had to move across the state to get to our plant to put it back here. So with beautiful weather and sunshine and rainbows, and we hit all of our productions, we are going to start on October 3rd. We are starting with coring, sawing, and pipes. October 4th, we're going to start milling. Right behind the mill, on the same day the mill starts, the paving or the survey crew is going to start pounding hubs, and right behind that survey crew is going to be a grading crew. By the end of that week, we will also have a paving crew out here. So you're going to have 2 grading crews, a milling crew, a pipe crew, a survey crew, and 2 paving crews, working our way around this track, trying not to get into each other's way. So by the end of the week of the 7th, or the end of the week of the 3rd there, we should be done milling. All the pavement should be off the track. So we're hoping to do a test strip right there on the 7th, which will be the lower layer, and we'll get going. We're using Craftco application, which is a binder. So we're going to put it on all the vertical joints so that water can't get between the existing pavements and the new pavements. So October 17th, the goal maybe earlier, but for sure, hopefully by the 17th. We're going to have some people go around the track on the lower layer just to make sure that everything is exactly the way you want it before we go on surface. And then hopefully, if everything goes well, on the 26th, we'll do the same thing on the surface and hand the track back over to Road America.